Have you ever wanted to write but were too afraid to get started? Afraid of what to say, how to say it, or what people might think once you put your words and your work out there? Writing sometimes feels like we're making a lifelong commitment, like we're getting a tattoo. We have to know what we're doing before we start because once we do, it's out there and it's permanent. And tattoos reveal a lot about us, what we like and what we're passionate about, and what we're willing to show the world. For a lot of writers, starting to write feels like that. Hi, I'm Kara Ray. I'm an author and the host of the Writer's Block podcast and community. We help Christian writers grow in the art and heart of writing. And today I want to help you overcome that fear of writing. So just like getting a tattoo, let's roll up our sleeves and get started. It won't hurt too bad. If you're not sure what to write, Mark Twain had some good writing advice. He said, write what you know. So start by asking yourself, what are you passionate about? What do you know enough about to teach someone else? Make a list of everything that you enjoy talking about and you enjoy learning about. Don't fall for the lie that you're not an expert. So you're not qualified to talk or to write about something. Here's a little secret. Most writers are just a few steps ahead of their readers. They don't have their theology all figured out, or they don't have their whole content calendar planned out in advance. They're usually just one or two steps ahead of their audience. So you don't have to figure everything out. But you do need to have a good idea of where you want to start. And often readers are just committed learners. They're eager to keep learning with their audience. So find a topic that interests you, that you know a lot about, or that you're willing to learn a lot about. Number 2, what do others say about you? If you're still not sure what to write about, ask a friend or a family member, what is it that I talk about a lot? What do you notice are my interests? You may not even realize that you've been talking about sourdough bread all the time, or the latest fashion trends, or what's happening in politics, or new Bible study methods and journaling techniques, or new theological insights that really excite you. Make a note of those in your journal. And if you're still not sure, start journaling. Start taking notes about the things that you're noticing throughout the day. Or if you already journal, go back and look at some old entries. Sometimes we're blind to what we've been noticing because we haven't been writing it down, but we can start to see trends and we can start to see patterns in the things that we are interested in. Who do you admire and why? Often, when we're getting started in our writing journey, we need to look for some inspiration, some other people who you appreciate their voice, their writing voice, the work that they're doing, and to look at what they're doing and how they're doing it. It's important and it's freeing to remember that there's nothing new under the sun. That's what Solomon said in Ecclesiastes. You don't have to be 100% original. There's really no such thing. Everyone draws inspiration from somewhere. And so the important thing is to go and find some people, some writers, some creators online, and look at their work and see what they're doing and what you admire about what they're doing. And see if you can reverse engineer what they're doing. Look at their style and maybe add a new twist or a new way of looking at things. And make that style your own. You don't have to be 100% original. Okay, section 2. How do you actually write? Well, it should be no surprise that writing, just like any other skill, is a result of practice. And so you have to put in the time and practice, practice, practice. Try and set aside some time every single day, or at least every other day when you're first getting started, and start practicing. It doesn't mean you have to publish all your work, but just start writing things down in a journal or open up a Google Doc. It's basically impossible not to improve if you put in the work every single day. Don't be boring. It's so important to grab your reader's attention right away. Really look at what people use as their hook to start off their articles or their blog posts or their chapters. What is it that immediately draws the reader in? Sometimes you can ask a question, or you can tell a story, or you can present a quote, something that will draw your reader in. I once heard that as you're writing in your first draft, just to write down whatever you want. But usually, that first paragraph, we do so much warm up that we can delete that first paragraph right away. So take a look at your work and try really hard not to be boring. Ask yourself, would I keep reading this if it wasn't my work? The first sentence you write should lead into the second sentence, and the second sentence should lead into the third, each one building upon each other. We add too much detail or we're too redundant. So make sure every word earns its place. And that leads us to our next point: edit ruthlessly. If you can say in 8 words what you've already said in 10, say it in 8. Try and remove extra words and fluff. This makes it easier for your reader to follow along with your work. Often we talk about killing our darlings. Sometimes we're so attached to our words and they've become very precious to us in the writing process. But it's important that you're able to look at your work objectively and step back and say, you know what? That's a really good sentence, but I'm going to save it for later, and create a darlings folder on your computer and just copy and paste those sentences that are so precious to you, but they don't quite fit into your piece. Save it for later. You'll never know when you might come back to that again. And that leads us to our next point: read your work out loud. This is such a helpful tip. We read our work silently as we're writing, but when you get to the point where you've really polished your work, read it out loud. If there's a few places where you stumble as you're reading, your reader probably will stumble there too. So that's your cue to focus in a little bit more on that sentence or those words or those phrases and smooth it out. Join a community. All right, this is one of my favorite tips because as part of the writer's block, we have a special space dedicated to peer editing. So often we are blind to our own work. What we think is really clear isn't always clear to our reader. And so when you join a community and have friends who can do peer editing with you, we call them frienditors, they can help you see things and see your work more objectively than you can. So it's so important, whether you're in a community or not, that you have an objective person who can look at your work and read it for you and with you and tell you what they stumbled over or what didn't make sense. Who am I to write? Stop comparing yourself to others. This is so real and so common among writers. The imposter syndrome is real. Some writers make writing look effortless and fabulous. But what I've learned in talking to so many writers is that it is a struggle for everyone. And for those who have made their writing look effortless, there's been a lot of effort that went in and behind the scenes that we didn't see. This reminds me of Jesus's conversation with Peter after the resurrection. Remember, Peter asked him, well, what about him? Pointing to John. And Jesus said, if he stays and remains until I return again, what is that to you? In other words, Peter, mind your own business. We need to do that too as we're writing. Look to others for inspiration, but don't compare your in progress work to somebody else's final draft. Mind your own business and mind your own calling. Keep your eyes on Jesus and follow him. When do I find time? So writing is just like any other discipline. It takes time and it's a skill. And that means anybody can improve as they practice. So start small. Carve out 30 minutes in your day to start writing. Maybe get up 30 minutes early, put your phone down at the end of the night, stop scrolling, and pull out your computer, your laptop, or your journal and start writing. It takes sustained discipline, repetition to get better at writing. And finally, take time to rest and to research. So often we sit down at our computers and we expect words to magically flow. Well, we have to have put in a lot of knowledge and input and inspiration in order for those words to flow from our fingertips onto our screen. So make sure that you take time to research and gather your notes and put together an outline. That way, when you sit down at your computer, your time will be much more productive and much more enjoyable. Writing, like getting a tattoo, can be a little scary. And if we're honest, it can hurt a little bit too. Good writing looks effortless, but it takes a lot of effort. And you may wonder, why do I keep putting myself through all this? Well, because when your words finally get to that point where it reflects your heart, it feels really good. And when someone says, yes, that's exactly how I feel, there's just nothing quite like it. So it's okay to write scared. Join the club. Roll up your sleeves. Be willing to share what's inside. And it might feel a little uncomfortable, but it'll be worth it and it'll be good. If you're ready to grow in the art and heart of writing, visit us at mywritersblock.com.